Good afternoon and welcome to the Tarda Zone. Sunday afternoon. How are you all doing? Hope you are doing fine. So last Sunday, I think it was last Sunday, we decided to come on in the afternoon and do a little stream and have a bit of a chat. Just a random stream, nothing, no particular topic. And also, we look over the week's news as well and stuff like that. So, if you have any questions as well, stick them in for the next hour or so. These streams in the afternoon are not really that long. But I've got me coffee. So, I'm all good. That gets me going for the day. So, if anybody is wondering what I do, when I get up, the first thing I do is put the kettle on, and I make myself some coffee. None of that bleeding crap, Nescafe crap, or jars of coffee. No. Proper coffee. So yeah, I've always been a coffee lover. Even before it was kind of fashionable in Dublin because we've got a lot of coffee shops now in Dublin, but there was a time where there was hardly any coffee shops in Dublin because we weren't very big coffee drinkers. Um, we drank mostly tea, as you know, like the Brits, we drink tea. So they all start popping up. Then we got Air Force, Starbucks. That was a big deal. I don't like Starbucks coffee. The only reason why Starbucks is actually popular is because some celebrities were spotted with these cups, Starbucks cups, and the people were fascinated by them. And then we found out it was a coffee place. Britney Spears, I think, was the one that started all of that. She was seen coming out of somewhere, and she had this clear glass, Starbucks glass, with obviously the stuff in it, and then the cream or whatever on top. And yeah, Starbucks became very popular then. We have Costa Coffee over here. I like Costa Coffee. And you can buy the Costa Coffee now in the packets in the shop. Very expensive, but so yeah, first thing I do when I get up is put the kettle on, make myself a nice cup of coffee, and then I'll have, believe it or not, I'll probably drink about 3 cups of coffee. Um, Now, a lot of other people drink 1 cup of coffee and they're flying around like blue arse flies, but I've been drinking coffee for years that it's like drinking tea to me now at this stage. I don't get that high that everybody gets when they drink coffee, because coffee can perk you up. Um, but with me, because I drink it so much, um, it doesn't have that effect on me. But I love me coffee. I love me tea as well. Not gonna lie, but yeah, I do like a nice cup of coffee. So yeah, I'll put the kettle on, have a cup of coffee. Um, and then normally what I do then is I check my phone or my computer because I always have messages of people, or you know I do check to see if there's anything, because anytime I write anything up, I always seem to get some sort of reaction, negative reaction. But I've noticed now these last few weeks that it's kind of calmed down. Let's hope it stays like that. Um, but just reflecting on all the stuff that's happening in the Doctor Who fandom. Um, Obviously, we know there's been a bit of a backlash to David and RTD's return from the very same people that were calling us not my doctors. Um, they have ironically become what they called us. Well, in their own eyes, logically, that's what they should be called. I actually don't give a crap. I had a couple of people send me some screenshots of what these people were saying during the week before I told people not to be sending me anymore because it's got to the stage now where, look, now they know how we feel 5 years ago. But as I said, we all had legitimate reasons 5 years ago to be worried. Um, the problem is this time around is the fans that are giving out about David Tennant and RTD actually don't have a leg to stand on. And the reason why they don't have a leg to stand on is because they've worked on the show before and were highly successful. So that's the difference between Jodie and Chris. Jodie and Chris were unknowns coming in. Not unknowns. We knew who they were, but in terms of Doctor Who, this was an unknown, right? And fair enough, we can argue the point that every new Doctor that comes in with a showrunner, right, it's the unknown. But the thing about it is, we already knew Moffat's experience because he'd worked with RTD anyway, so it felt natural that he would take over from RTD, right? And then the thing that became, I suppose, for us then was the Doctor. Who would he cast as the Doctor? And remember, Matt Smith was cast, and people were actually, weren't impressed. People weren't impressed. Even when he did his first scene, everybody thought, oh, this is going to be awful. It's going to be absolutely awful. But he proved us all wrong. I mean, the 11th hour, he blew us all away. Matt Smith, I've said it, we were doing the watch-alongs, as you know. Matt Smith's Doctor, most of his acting is in his eyes and his facial expressions. He's just so good. Just so good. We'd watch Broadchurch, basically. Well, I watched Broadchurch. Chris Chibnall has done, here's the thing that annoys me. Chris Chibnall did some good stuff. Did some good stuff before he got Doctor Who. I mean, he did. I'm a United fan, as you can see. So I keep forgetting that the camera is reversed. Right, I'm a United fan. Right, he did a movie about the Munich air crash disaster called United. Now, granted, the story was there, right? So he couldn't change that, and he had to follow the story, especially if you're doing that and connected to this club. You've got to do it properly, right? That's one of the most emotional movies you'll ever watch. It was well written. Chris Chibnall, David Tennant is in it as well. David Tennant is absolutely brilliant. He plays Jimmy Murphy. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen it, even if he's aren't into football, watch United, right? Chris Chibnall's work, right? He had me crying. I'm a United fan anyway. I was always going to bleed, and I was always going to cry because it was horrible what happened. For people that don't know, just in case memories need to be jogged, Manchester United were playing a European game and they won. I think they did. I think they won by a goal, or they were losing by a goal anyway. It was one or the other. I think they were winning. But they were flying home. The Premier League had put pressure on them. Back in the day, the Premier League didn't want English clubs playing European football because they wanted the English league to them was more important, right? They didn't believe in the European competitions, right? But United, because we'd qualified, the manager was like, well, listen, we're playing in it because we've actually qualified for it. So this is what happened. To make a long story short, the head of the FA basically said to them, look, if you go to this match, you have to get back into the UK at a certain time. If you don't, you forfeit the 3 points, right? So United chartered a private plane. They flew over, played the match, right? And then on the way home, then they all got on the plane. There was snow. They tried to lift off a couple of times. The plane wouldn't lift off. And then I think it was on the third or fourth attempt, the plane tried to lift off, and unfortunately, the plane crashed and burst into flames, and a lot of United players, reporters passed away, and the club nearly folded. If it hadn't have been for Jimmy Murphy, United wouldn't even exist now. But he did that movie. He did that movie, man. And I'm telling you, this is what annoys me about Chibs. Yes, some people will find flaws in his writing and say he's a bit of a hack. But if you go back and look at his old work, he's not a hack. He's actually not a hack. He's actually a good writer. I don't know what's happened to him. It's like he's gotten older. It was like when he was younger, he hit his peak. And when he got older, that was it. That was it. But that was a great movie, man. Great movie. So he has done some good stuff, but we all seen the way it panned out anyway. It was a disaster. And this is the thing, if it wasn't as bad, David Tennant and RTD wouldn't even be back. Chris Chibnall, if he had had a successful run with Doctor Who, would probably still be the showrunner, and we'd have someone else coming in as the Doctor. Because I do reckon Jodie still would have left after the 3 series were done. I don't think she would have stayed any longer, personally. Because as you know, she wants to start a family. She has a couple of kids now. So that's the thing. With that, I do believe he would have brought someone else in, but because it was so bad, I mean, there's no denying it now. But this is why the arguments from the other side are not legit. They're being called out actually by people that used to call us out, which I find kind of hypocritical. I mean, these are the same people that retweet our tweets. So these people that they're giving out to now would abuse and harass us. But now, because, they're fans of RTD and David Tennant, somehow they've crossed the line now. And they're being called out by both sides of the fandom. Both sides of the fandom. But look, look. People, as I said, some people. Whoops, there goes my camera. Hold on. Fucking hell. Okay, there. Right, it's been working. But you see, the thing about it is, I could call them out, like I always have. But everybody could see them for who they are now, right? We don't need to do that now. All we just need to do is just sit back and let them destroy themselves. Listen, they've gotten in over their heads. They don't realise how popular RTD and David Tennant actually are. I think they've underestimated the fandom's reaction to them. Why is my camera gone? Right. Could you hear me that time, yeah? Right, there we go. I don't know why it's playing up again. Right, hold on. We'll have to leave it off for a second till I figure it out. But we haven't had any problems with it. It's been working actually fine. I want to try use the camera a little bit more, Here we go. No, see, it's pausing again. Don't make me refresh it. Just hold on, I'll see if I can fix the... Yeah, he is. He's not a bad writer. The FA should be ashamed of themselves. Well, just to finish up on that story, after the accident and the president of the FA basically was rang and told about it, he was devastated, I have to be honest. But look, you know, you can blame people, right? And it's easy to point the finger at him and the FA and stuff like that. But they were back in those days, you know, the English league, you know, there was pride in that. You know, it was the national league. You know, it was, you know, you got the oldest cup competition in the world in the FA Cup. You know, so you know, in some ways I can understand that, but you're right. I mean, to give them a certain amount of time to get back just because you didn't like the fact that they were playing in European football is a bit bang out of order. But I'm pretty sure those people that made those decisions regretted it for the rest of their lives. So, I mean, look, you can go on punishing people, but I think the punishment for them is the fact that they have to live with it. Now, let's see if I can get this camera working again, because that's a shame, because I'm actually, I have everything set up. I actually have to set up, even last night when I was talking to Chris, I had to set up perfect last night now, so I haven't even actually moved it from last night. The only thing that I took away was the laptop to bring it into the room so I could watch something while I was falling asleep. And I'm actually doing that. Actually, do you know what? Do you know what I have been doing? I've been going down this rabbit hole of you know, YouTube is a huge platform, as you all know. And, you know, over the years, some famous YouTubers have ended up either murdering people, you know, being creepy, gone missing, stuff like that. And I've been watching YouTube channels dedicated to all of these mysteries and all of this stuff that happened. And it's fascinating stuff. It's fascinating stuff, man. The early days of YouTube, right? I didn't realize in the early days of YouTube, the pioneer content creators that became famous, a lot of them actually either ended up in jail, ended up in something that ended up in a lot of people dying, girls gone missing, creepy. Oh man, it's weird. It's actually weird. The one I was watching, the one that I was watching last night was this kid, and he was doing early videos with his brothers and sisters, right? And they were great. They were doing all of this like they were funny kids, like they were like very talented, right? You're watching the videos and you're oblivious to it. But then it turns out a few years later that the mother of these kids was basically beating them up and doing all sorts to them. And then, because people then start going back through the videos and you are noticing bruises and stuff that weren't there, or, you know, when you were watching videos, the bruises were just torn up like. And then it was one particular video, and someone was watching, and just whatever it was, they felt uncomfortable watching the video. So they decided to call in child services. And then when the child services went to check up, they found that there's some of these kids. Did you know what she did actually? She locked them up in cages. And she chained them. She chained their legs. She made sure that's what she did. She didn't even let them sleep in a bed, man. She did. Oh man, weird. And some of the scams as well by couples on it, you know, pretending that they have these perfect marriages and they're not even married. They're not even married, but they're scamming people and stuff. Oh man, I've gone down, seriously, man. Seriously, it's fascinating stuff, but I have to say you have to have a stomach for some of it, even though they don't show it. But even when they're describing some stuff, and they have to be careful, obviously, because YouTube, with their terms of service, you have to be very careful. Um, but even when the way they're describing some things, it does. It's very, 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 very uncomfortable. Yeah, a lot of that's the thing. The early PD is actually right. See, the early pioneers of YouTube, those poor quality videos, the people doing just random shit, they became famous, and that's the thing. PD is right. If you look at our society now, right, our society is a selfish one, but it's a fame hungry one, and it's all about me, 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 right? Um, and now you've got, other social media, if you would like to call them uh, personalities. You've got the OnlyFans and all of that. And those girls, and there's some blokes and couples on it as well, raking in the money, right? It's just become, our society's just become, I don't know what the word is for it, but look, people could do whatever they want in their own homes, and if they want to stream and broadcast it to people, that's fine. I've no problem with that, actually, really. That's your own business. It wouldn't be me. But that's what we've become. It's like easy money. People just want to keep making easy money. But a lot of these as well. It doesn't matter what platform you're on, right? There's early days of TikTok in China. I was watching some bloke there. He was uh, he was basically he was protesting against the Singaporean government, and he ended up getting into trouble, and he was brought in, and then he got released or something like that, and then a few years later he ran into more trouble, and then it kept piling up, and then eventually then he was granted asylum in America, went to America, start getting worse with his videos calling people out, and then so the FBI got involved. They searched his computer, and they found images. Let's just say the disgusting kind of images. Images where the person responsible needs to be locked up and the key thrown away. Them sort of images. So he was caught with all of that. But again, all of these, this is what social media, this is the bad side of social media, right? It's all well and good giving everybody a platform. Unfortunately, you're giving some very disturbed people also a platform. And the early days of YouTube, I'm telling you, man, I don't know how that platform was even allowed to stay up with some of the content that was up on that platform. Now, obviously, when these YouTubers ended up all doing something, they removed their channels, but not before fans of those people downloaded their videos, and then obviously some videos then appear in other channels' videos, but obviously heavily edited, so you don't get to see any of that. But kind of gives you an insight into their minds, and they were very disturbed people. So yeah, if you're looking for some fascinating, scary stories about YouTube and other platforms as well, remember the early days of all these other platforms as well. You got some of the early stars, as they call them, and this is what's happened. We've given fame to people that don't deserve it. And I know that's harsh to say, but you look at most of the personalities on Twitter, these check marks, the so-called celebrities or famous YouTubers. The one thing that I've always hated, I've told you, you have YouTubers nowadays calling people their fans. They're fans. They've got fans, right? I mean, no, you don't have fans. You have subscribers, right? They're not fans. What are they fans of? All you do is come on and you speak crap on a computer like I do. So what's fanatical about that? What makes people fan? I don't get that. I've never called you guys fans. I just don't get that whole concept. We're YouTubers. You're not famous. Some of these YouTubers go around as if they're famous. These ain't famous. These are popular, yes. I won't deny that you're adding popular, but you're adding celebrities, man. Some of these bleeding YouTubers go on as if they're celebrities, like, oh, me fans. Oh, look at this. Got a picture from a fan. I'd say not trained or experienced to receive it. Yeah, because it comes so quick, it does. And even the people around them, they probably don't know how to handle it because it does come overnight. And here's the thing, a lot of the kids nowadays, they only join these things hoping that one of their videos goes viral and hoping that they become an overnight success. They're not even coming on to just do it, just for the sake of doing it, like having fun with it. A lot of these already have a plan. They'll study the algorithm. They'll see what's popular in the trends, all of this. They'll study all of that. And then they'll do a video and they'll do a couple of videos of things that they've seen that have trended, that are popular. And they hope that one of them gets caught up in the algorithm. And then before you know it, then they've gone viral. And then as soon as they go viral, then people start watching the rest of their videos then. And then they're able to get monetized. And then before you know it, then they're making a few quid. And then as they keep growing and growing and growing and growing, their ego then gets a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger. And then before you know it, they're down this rabbit hole. They don't know how to handle it. And then they end up getting into trouble because nobody has guided them. But nobody looks out for anybody. Not much anymore. Not much anymore. 5 years, when I first came on here, start streaming, I felt like there's plenty of support out there from fellow content creators. 5 years later, it's not the same anyway, let's just say. Doesn't feel the same. It's become, I don't know. I think the pandemic had something to do with it as well, though, because I think a lot of us use their YouTube channels to kind of get through it and help people get through the pandemic by streaming and stuff like that. So we kind of all start concentrating on our own channels, I suppose. But yeah, it's different. It's different. But yeah, it's fascinating. I have to say, very, very, very fascinating stuff. I would recommend that you go down. The thing about it is, though, once you go down the old rabbit hole, unfortunately, it's you'll find yourself either doing what I've done, which is fall asleep with the computer on still down. So I've had to go back to the point where I fell asleep because it's fascinating stuff. You just keep watching and watching and watching, and it's just mad how these people just ended up doing the stuff that they ended up doing. And you see their early videos. And here's the thing, can I just say to parents out there and YouTube, right? If there's some kid online and people are flagging the video, right, because they think that something's up with this kid, You know, you need to be faster. You need to be faster to kind of look into this to stop things from actually happening. There was a few incidents where YouTube could have stepped in after they were warned about this particular YouTube channels, and they did nothing until after the damage was already done. Right? In some cases, though, they did. They removed, but then the person ended up setting up another channel, but they were slow on that, and that channel would remain up, and then they do what they would do. But for parents as well, like, Jesus Christ, pay attention to your kids. Clearly, if you watch your kids' videos, you will see that your kid needs to go and see someone and talk to someone because they clearly have issues. Parents just ignore their kids nowadays. It's not a parent. It's not a typical parent-child dynamic anymore. And the reason for that is because we've given kids way too much power now. And you know, parents are afraid to, like, on one hand, I do criticize the parents, right? And it's not all their fault, though, because we're kind of living in a society there, whereas, you know, the way we were brought up and the way we were parented, our parents wouldn't get away with that today. They'd actually probably be locked up in prison. You're not really allowed to punish your child anymore. And I don't mean physically. I mean, you know, telling a child that they must behave, teaching them manners, because you might upset their feelings. And we're in a bit of a, that's the situation we're in, man. On one hand, parents fear to do the one thing that they've always dreamed of being, which is parents to their kids. And at the same time, the kids nowadays know that the law and the power is basically in their favor, which means then these kids can run amok. And then we see what the result of that is today, in today's society. I mean, they have that climate change thing in Egypt, right? So, like, 35 world leaders or something showed up, or whatever, altogether 35, right? 35 planes, okay? Private planes, yeah? And then we had this 20-year-old blonde, fake blonde, might I add, telling everybody that the youth have a voice now in the UN, right? And she's talking about synthetic clothes and stuff like that, and saying that we're not listening. And there she is, standing up on the podium, right? And she's wearing clothes. Obviously, she's wearing clothes. So where did those clothes come from? She's wearing fancy jewelry. Where did that jewelry come from? How did you get to Egypt, right? And then she's walking around the UN, taking selfies of herself, right? Okay, she's there taking selfies of herself with these ribbons over her neck, right? With plastic things on the end of them, right? ID, obviously, that's where she was, with plastic, right? And then she's taking photographs with some of the delegates, right? Wearing what I would describe as not appropriate attire for the UN, right? That's just a nice way of putting it, okay? And even in the comment section, both men and women were saying, well, you're in the UN, could you have a bit of respect and dress appropriately for the occasion? Which I think is a fair point. You know, we're brought up in school, the whole point of a school uniform, right? I think people have forgotten the whole point of a school uniform. The school uniform was a way to get us prepared for later life, okay? Because in some jobs, you have to dress a certain way, right? As a chef, I'm not going to walk into a kitchen with a fancy suit. No, I'm going to wear chef attire. right? If I'm at a business meeting, I'm not going to show up in a tracksuit. No, I'm going to show up in a suit and tie, right? And if you work for the UN, well, the men wear a suit and a tie, and the women should wear appropriate attire, not mini skirts and boob tubes. Now, these are the people that are preaching to us about climate change, politicians as well, and they're all flying around. They're all flying around the world in airplanes, right? They're all buying beachfront properties. They're telling us that the sea levels are rising. And there's Obama. He recently, a couple of years ago, bought a beachside property worth millions. He's not buying a beachside property worth millions if the sea levels are rising. Why would he? He's going to lose money. The climate is going to change, right? Not saying that I don't believe in climate change. The climate is going to change. Yes, absolutely going to change. But the politicians and these people want us to believe that it's our fault. So because it's our fault, we should do all of this. But the fact of the matter is all of this is going to cost an awful lot of money and it's going to do damage to the environment. Go and check how they mine lithium batteries, right? These batteries that power all these electric cars. Go ahead. Tell me if it's good for the environment. Go and check out how these windmills from the wind farms are made, right? Go and find out what happens to them when some of these actually break, right? What they have to do to get rid of them, because they can't recycle them. They're not made out of recyclable stuff. This is the thing that's fucked up about it. They want us to do all of this, but the stuff that they're using to give us all these wind farms, you cannot recycle any of that stuff, right? Those propellers, right? If they break off, they bury them underground. They bury them underground. Look how they mine lithium batteries and all of this. It's all, right? All of these electric things that they're putting around the country to power your electric cars. Yeah, if you look, you will see that there's actually a generator there, petrol generator, keeping them going, keeping them charged. Where do you think they get the electric from? Right? And then you have them telling us that we should do better. And yeah, here's the thing, right? Do you know why I'm bringing this up? I'll tell you why. Because the hypocrisy and the stupidity of it is actually mind-boggling. And I'll tell you why it is, right? We live in a technological age now, right? I'm here in Ireland, yeah? We've got people all over the world. Right, there goes me, okay, hold on. I don't know what's going on there, right? But we have people all over the world listening to me right now, right? You mean to tell me that none of these politicians, all of these delegates, cannot Zoom each other? Like they can't Zoom each other? Instead of leaving their countries and being hypocrites and getting into private jets and flying all over the world, why don't they all sit at home or sit in their office and all Zoom each other? Right? It's hypocritical. And this is why people won't believe them. And I don't. The climate is going to change because you know what? They keep saying something which people, it flies over people's head. I don't know, stupid. I don't know what's happened to society. But it's like as if the intelligence is being sucked out of people. Every time they talk about climate change, they say, well, this hasn't happened in 100 years or 1,000 years or 500 years or whatever it is. And people keep forgetting to say, well, so it's happened before. But how could it happen before if there was less humans on the planet and we weren't as advanced as we were? So how did it happen before? Well, it happened before because we have nothing to do with climate change. Right? Absolutely nothing. You look at our sun, and that's where the answer lies. And by the way, here's the funny thing about it, is while they're talking about climate change, apparently there's plans to try block out the sun. They want to make the planet cooler, but what they don't realize is the planet is already cooling. The planet is already cooling. You don't need, listen, we can't do anything about this. The climate is going to change. We're overdue. Lee even spoke about it. We're overdue. It's going to happen. So all of this elitist stuff that's coming out, all of this fear mongering, like, leave it out. Nothing we do is going to change a thing. We would literally have to start from scratch using green energy because we've gone too far. And even then, this whole thing with green energy is not as green as people are making it out to be. It does an awful lot of harm to the landscape and the environment. It's an absolute joke. And listen, this is not a left-wing or a right-wing thing either. This is not a left-wing or a right-wing thing either. The bottom line is the left are wrong. Right? That's the bottom line. They're wrong. All of these politicians, Al Gore, Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Look at where they live. So look at all the stuff, that the properties that they bought, beachside properties and all of this, right? It's a scam, right? They wanted to make money out of all of these companies that were set up for all these wind farms and all of that, right? They're all making a tidy little profit. At the end of the day, all of this is just about one thing and one thing only, as it always is: money, money, money. Right? Do your research. Right? These so-called facts on climate, right? Even the people that were behind the say, they own the science on climate change. And even your one that was talking about said, if you use Google, we make sure that all of our stuff is in the first few pages of the search, so people can actually, so literally you have to scroll down and keep scrolling down and turning the pages until you get the stuff at the bottom. She says the conspiracy stuff. That's what it is now. If you talk about climate change and talk about it the way I'm talking about, I'm a conspiracy theorist. No, you're the conspiracy theorists. And you're making a lot of money by scaring people. And then you brainwash some that they're going all over the world and they're super gluing their faces to footpaths, climbing bridges, super gluing and throwing stuff at famous paintings and stuff like that. And that's what you've done. You've brainwashed a lot of these, and you've brainwashed the youth yet again. The climate is going to change, and there's nothing we can do about it. Absolutely nothing. All we can do is make sure that our homes are built properly from now on. We have to start planning ahead, but not the way they want to. The money needs to be invested in different places. This green energy thing is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. You want to do something for the planet? Stop cutting down trees. Right? You want to do something for the planet? Clean the oceans. Yeah? Because they need to be cleaned. Yeah, let's do stuff that will actually make a difference to the planet. Yeah, that's what we should be doing. Right? We should be doing things that make a difference to the planet. Right? The pandemic, the best thing about the pandemic is that, and it was only one good thing, is that for 2 years the planet kind of healed itself. Right? You had rivers and oceans that were once murky and disgusting, that all of a sudden had cleared up and were clean. Right? You were seeing it, because forests weren't being cut down, trees weren't being cut down, everything was able to grow, right? That's the only good thing, because the pandemic was bad overall. But for the planet's sake, those 2 years gave the planet a bit of a breather. So, I mean, look, we can clean up the oceans, we can clean up the canals, we can clean up the rivers, we can stop cutting down trees, do stuff that will actually clean the planet. Because we do live on it, we have to look after it. But these people, these mad psychopaths, they're going to do more damage. They're going to do more damage to landscapes. They're going to do more. I'm telling you, this green energy thing is a hoax, man. Go and check out how they mine for the lithium for batteries and all of that, and all of the other stuff for the cars. I'm telling you, you'd be shocked. You'd be shocked, but they don't talk about that when they're preaching to us about the damage that we're doing. They're doing more damage anyway if we go by their logic, because they're the ones that are flying all around the world. And remember, they fly around, they're politicians and stuff and world leaders. So they're flying all over the world all the time. So again, they're hypocrites. Hypocrites. More young people thinking that they know. You don't even know what you're talking about. You don't even know what you're talking about. I would love to see all of these kids, right? Greta, the whole lot of them, brought on a program, right? And brought in experts that have been basically dismissed by the wider community because they're all in on it to make money, right? And have those kids challenged live on television and shown the actual facts. Because the adults around them brainwashed them. They think by using the youth and turning the youth against the older generation and us, that somehow that's going to work. But what they found out is that it's not that easy. It's not that easy, because we don't just sit by. We're going to question everything. We're going to question everything. Climate change got to do with the solar output, right? That was the original science back 10, 15 years ago, okay? The science that they have suppressed now. Remember, these people said they own the science to climate change now. Nobody owns science, by the way. But the fact that they use those words is a very scary thing. They're suppressing the truth because there's money to be made. And remember, they'll exploit anything. Even during the pandemic, they exploited people to make money, governments to make money. Everybody made a lot of money during the pandemic while people were lying in beds dying. Remember that. Remember that. And now these people, politicians and activists, want us to believe them in this. No. The climate is going to change no matter what. We're overdue. And if anybody has half a brain, and actually did some research, you will see that it's being suppressed. That information is being suppressed. There's people out there, elitists, that want to make money, and they'll stop at nothing. They'll bend the truth. They will outright deny factual science and come up with their own science to justify it. And even when you read their stuff, it's absolutely ridiculous. And all of these fake projections that they have. And the reason why they're accelerating it up now, right, is because they know the climate is going to change. So this is why now we've gotten into this scare tactic now to make us act. But then watch, when the climate does change, then, right, what will there be excuse then? What will be the next excuse? They'll say, you know what they'll say? Oh, we were too late. We were too late, but we wasted. But a lot of people are going to be rich, folks. A lot of people are going to be rich. As I said, I'm not a climate change denier. In fact, the climate will change. What I'm denying is the fact that these people that are going around saying that we're responsible, that's what I'm denying. What I'm denying is the fact that they said that we should go green energy. That's what I'm denying. Causes more harm than good. And that's it, where I am on that one. So if anybody wants to know what my stance was on that, well then there you go, you know now. I mean, I'm just looking out now. It's November, as you know, and it's sunshine out there. Now it's probably a bit cold actually. Hold on, I'll stick my hand on. Let me see. No, it's actually very mild, right? And it's November. Now I remember having Novembers like this even as a kid, right? Me mum and dad remember when they had the worst storm in 50 years when they were growing up as a kid. And then we recently had the Beast of the East and stuff, and we've had storms that we've had that are probably the worst since their parents. So the weather goes through a cycle all the time. And we're going through another cycle of change now. And it'll be very interesting to see how they spin it. Look, as I said, if you want to waste your money on doing all the things and that they say that you do to help, go ahead. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but at the end of the day, I think it's a waste of time. The climate is going to change either way. No action that we take to try. See, this is the whole scam. They think by the actions that they take that they're going to be able to stop the climate from changing. I mean, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're not going to be, you can't stop a natural process. I mean, you can't. You just can't. Right, hold on. People are telling me the mic. Let's see. There, right, So let me get this straight. I've just no, I haven't figured out what's wrong with the camera. Right, we're gonna have to plug that out, and I'm gonna have to change back over to the mic apparently. So right, there we go. Right, I've had to knock the camera off. Well, it's already been off, I mean, but I'm going to have to fix that. But I've just noticed something. I think yeah, it's very delicate, this camera. Yeah, well, it needs to be stopped, man. And again, stop the oil. Fair enough. Okay, we'll do what you want to do, right? We'll stop the oil. Then a lot of things are going to be affected, right? I don't think these people realize the impact of having no oil would have on the wider world. Whether we like it or not, we need to use oil. I mean, same with gas. So we stop gas. How are we going to heat home? See, again, they don't understand. A lot of people are going to suffer. A lot of people are going to die. But to them, it's justified. But nobody needs to die. Just like nobody needed to die in care homes during the pandemic. Didn't need to. But decisions were made. And we're doing it again. We're going to do it again. And millions of people, vulnerable people, are going to die. All because they think that if they take some action now, that somehow the climate is not going to change. Well, you're wrong. And to those protesters, you know, I don't care if you want to protest. I actually don't, even though I think, you know, what you are protesting is absolutely ridiculous because, you know, the science that you are being taught is absolute rubbish. But if you want to protest, fine, do it. But don't be blocking the roads. Don't be blocking the streets. Don't be preventing ambulances and fire services from getting to places and situations that they need to get to. Stop disrupting traffic. Stop being ridiculous and throwing all sorts of stuff on works of art. And fair enough, those works of art have been protected. I think the museums are wising up. But in saying that though, I don't know if this is being discussed, and maybe I'll start some conspiracy theory here, but I'm just going to say it out straight. Has anybody noticed how easy these people are able to get into these galleries, pass security, put on high-vis jackets, wear backpacks and go straight into the museum and then do what they're able to do? They're even able to take the super glue out of their bags, right? They're given time to do that and then pour soup or mashed potato or whatever over a painting. Does anybody else not think that's suspicious that they're able to get in, do all of that before then eventually they're dragged out? See, I think they're in on it. I really do. There's no way. Listen, I did security for a while, right? After my accident, I did security at a while, and I worked a week at a museum, right? I can tell you now that would not happen. There's no way. There is no way that those people would get past me and other security guards, right? And if we seen them, as soon as we seen them take that super glue out of their hands or whatever or super glue out of their bags or whatever they had, they would have been dived on and dragged out. The police would have been rang. I'm just finding all of this a little bit too convenient, and you're already seeing that the police won't do anything, right? Right? Drivers have had to literally get out of their cars and physically drag these people away. And then the police have decided, well, we're going to arrest you instead. Even though they're the ones that are causing a public nuisance, the fact that you put your hands on one of them now because they're protected, we're going to arrest you now. I mean, it's gotten to the point where they're physically being dragged away, and it shouldn't get to that point, because someone in the public will go too far, and it'll cause this big debate. I think the police should just do their jobs. They're a public nuisance. They're disrupting traffic. They're stopping life-saving equipment getting to scenes, saving people's lives. If they're not going to protest in a proper manner, and I know they like to compare themselves to the other protests and stuff years gone by, where they use certain tactics and stuff like that, right? But we're in a more civilized society, yeah, or we're supposed to be, and we do things a proper way now, okay? And at the end of the day, I think it's time that, we as the people demand that our law enforcement, our governments, start taking action against these people. They need to be locked up, even if it's for a couple of weeks or whatever. It depends on how serious their crime is, right? We've already heard stories about ambulances not being able to get to scenes and people have passed away. So the people that blocked that ambulance, in my opinion, are responsible for that person dying. So in fairness, they should be actually locked up and given a couple of years, or maybe a few years, because would it be considered some sort of manslaughter? Because, but something has to be done, right? Enough is enough now, right? Protest in a proper manner, or something needs to be done. But our governments are weak, and it's not just the UK government, it's the Irish government as well. It's governments all around the world with these activists. They're weak on them. They're weak on them. We need good old-fashioned politicians that didn't take any of this nonsense. That's what we need. But all of our leaders now are all yellow belly cowards. Cowards, every single one of them. They don't have a backbone. It's absolutely ridiculous, man. Look, this is the problem though. The UN and other people like them are giving these young people a voice. Young people that should be that are still they're in they're either in their late teens or early 20s. And the problem is they're still being educated, and they're still, well, I wouldn't call the education that they're getting today actually education, because they're being brainwashed. That's the sad thing about it. But they shouldn't be. There's a reason why in certain countries the vote is at a certain age and stuff like that. Even as late teens or early 20s, they're still very immature, and they're still developing their intelligence and stuff, and they're still growing as an adult. So we shouldn't be listening to them. What do they know about the climate? It's the same rhetoric. I mean, that girl that was speaking was the same rhetoric that basically Greta spewed when she first burst onto the scene, right? And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We should be listening to the young people. Yeah, and certain things in the world, I do agree we should be listening to this. But when it comes to the climate, you has absolutely no clue what you are talking about, because you haven't been given the proper facts or the science, because you have been given the science that's owned by the people that talk about climate change. And that's what they've said. They own the science. Nobody owns science. Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. Yeah, well, we need politicians with backbones, PD. And if we can get a politician, all parties, even Sinn Féin over here now has become, they call themselves a Republican Party. I wouldn't class them as a Republican Party anymore. They've gone very left wing in their politics because they think that's how they'll win a general election. But I still think they've underestimated the older generation. They always vote the two main parties. The Sinn Féin's not getting in, especially with the way they're going on. I don't see it. They'll make huge gains, all right, because the left is starting to get a hold in this country now as well. It's actually ridiculous. I was watching a political program with a so-called political analyst, and like they must have been in their early 20s or something. And I was like, okay, I'm not saying that people at certain ages at that age can be brilliant and know everything that's going on, but you could clearly see that they were talking out their ass and didn't know what they were talking about. Political analysts, me arse. Again, as well, we're listening to these, you turn on Good Morning Britain, they always have 20-odd-year-olds saying how they hate the monarchy and all of this and talking about all of this other rubbish. Absolutely ridiculous. We've lost the plot. We've actually lost the plot. It's so funny, but at the same time, it's terrifying. Yeah, well, shit. Look, down here in the Republic, they've nah, man. There was a time where I would have gave them a chance because I'm sick of the two main parties. But not now. Not now. There's not one party in Ireland now that I can say, yeah, I'll support. They're all a bunch of twats. We're screwed here. And remember, this country and the Catholic Church and all of this, so we're going to get it worse here. It's bad in America. It'll just get as bad as here because, they'll be cancelling people left, right, and centre here. And then we'll overcompensate. The church will overcompensate. The government will overcompensate. It'll be ridiculous. You won't be able to move. I always thought we had a bit of cop on over here. But just like the rest of the world, we've been infected with this radical leftist ideology, folks. Even in my country. And it's not making it any better. I can tell you that. Every night, there's these kids, car chases. There's actually videos even thrown up on social media, which I find disgusting that people would throw them up, but they do anyway, of group of young girls beating some other girl up. You're seeing a lot of our youth as well, doing so. It's disgusting, man. It's disgusting. We've completely lost control of our youth in this country. Right? I'll give you an example. About 3 weeks ago, in an area in Dublin, which is known to be a bit rough anyway, but the community itself is a lovely community. They've always had a problem with the youth, but not as bad as now. There was a group of boys, and they all had their camera phones out, and they were all filming a robbed car ramming a Garda car. Right? Ramming a Garda car. And them all cheering. Right? And the car was going backwards. It was driving back towards the cop car, hit the cop car, and then it sped off. It became national news actually over here. Right? Deplorable, man. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't any of that stuff going on when we were growing up, but it wasn't as It wasn't as frequent as it is today. We've lost control. There's kids literally going around Dublin City with weapons, and they're literally just picking random people. We've seen it in the States as well. These random attacks, like, as well, this seems to be a new thing with the youth as well. They're randomly, I mean, I saw a video last night of one of these like dark YouTube channels, and there was a thing underneath one of them, and it was a news report, and I stuck it on, and there's literally this woman outside our house, and she's got they've put in trees on pathways. So in Ireland they have the same trees on pathways. So around the tree, she wanted to plant some lovely flowers, to have the tree there and then the flowers underneath it, and it look lovely, right? So she's doing that, minding her own business, and some fella comes along, young fella, comes along, a 20-odd-year-old, sees that she's down on her hands and knees while she's digging the ground, and kicks her right in the head. Kicks her right in the head for no reason whatsoever. This generation, some of them, not all, are very dangerous. Well, it's become very, really bad in Dublin. That's why I don't go out that often. It's not even safe for me. I mean, think about it logically as well. If I was attacked by a gang of youths, right, and I managed to overpower them, but I hit them, even though they've been the one attacking me, I'd be locked up because I'm the adult. So basically, let them kick the shit out of you is the advice, basically. Because if I started to defend myself, I'm obviously going to have to strike to defend myself. But if I was to hit one of them, I'd be locked up. It's become very dangerous, even for women. I have to say, it's bad for blokes as well. I'm not. See, this is what I hate. People don't say that, but it is. It's just as bad for blokes, but it's dangerous out there for women as well. It's girls being attacked. Like the videos are getting more violent. Just random attacks. You see it in the UK as well. Girls coming home from school being picked on and bullied, and it's just, it was never, I suppose, social media, plays a part in it now, because people, for some weird reason, love watching videos like that, which is sick to me. But they're popular. Social media has a duty. Again, I keep saying that these platforms have a duty to try stamp it out. They need to be doing a better job. Yeah, I seen. Yeah, I actually looked. Yeah, I was actually looking into that. Air laws are kind of, yeah. We've had a few incidents like that. There was actually a farmer as well. He was originally charged and stuff, but then there was such a public backlash that the decision was reversed. But yeah, man, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But what can you do? Anyway, what else can I say? We're screwed, folks. We're screwed. We're screwed. I suppose it could be worse. I keep saying that, but would that be the farmer that shot the kid in the back? No, I don't think it was that one. No, I think the person I'm talking about had a weapon in their hand. The farmer and his missus were asleep or something, and of course, down the countryside they have their shotguns. So I mean, look, if you break into someone's home, and if your family's life is at threat, under threat, well, whatever happens, happens as far as I'm concerned. You know, you protect your family at all costs. And that's my mentality. If anybody broke in here, my first job is to protect my wife. And of course the dog, because if I didn't protect the dog, she'd kill me anyway. So I'd be screwed either way. So yeah, I watched the Carry On films growing up. Do I have a particular favourite? The one that always sticks in my mind is, I hope I'm getting the title right, is Carry On Matron. Yeah. I don't know why that one. I don't know why that one pops into me head more than the others, but I do remember that particular film. So yeah, not bad. Not bad. I haven't actually watched them in years. Maybe I should take a look back at them. You know, watch them growing up, because obviously in my household they'd watch the Carry On movies, for God's sake. Carry On Cleo was another one, wasn't it? Watched it, yeah. All I remember from those movies was very big, you know what. We'll leave it there. Anyway, yeah, I should actually take a look at those movies again. They're classics. You wouldn't get away with making them today, though. You know, we'll leave it there anyway. Right, so we'll be back tomorrow anyway. Just wanted to come on to have a chat, as we always do. If we do another one of these next week, just remember, if you just want to get a few questions together, have them prepared for next week. I'll answer a couple of questions if you have a couple of questions you would like to ask. Now I'm gonna go off now and have another cup of coffee. And yeah, I've got a couple of more. I'm gonna need coffee actually, because I've got a couple of more episodes of The Crown to watch. I'm not liking this series at all, actually. Cheryl is loving it. I'm not. Um, I mean, there's not much they could really have done. I mean, the early part of her reign was the most interesting. I mean, as you got to the end with the scandals and all of that, I suppose I thought it was going to be a bit more interesting, but anyway, we're going to leave it there. So, yeah, I'm off to the future, but you won't like it. I'm okay. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Remember when I talk about leftist ideology, I'm talking about the radical left, by the way. So I don't want, because my wife is left wing. That's the ironic thing about us is I'm married to someone who is left wing and believes all of this stuff. The thing about it is that Cheryl is not one of those people that doesn't let me have my opinions, even if she doesn't agree with me. And I'm the same. She can have her opinions. I just don't agree. But when I'm talking about the left, I'm not mostly talking about the radical left because they're the ones that have really, really pushed everything. As I said, grown up, I can say that over the years, some left wing policies have I've actually agreed with. Same with some right wing policies. I wouldn't even say I'm kind of neutral is the wrong word, but I mean, what I do is I listen to what everybody has to say in every party, and then I'll make up my mind. That's the best way to do it. Deep dive into their manifestos and stuff like that, and actually try get to see what they're saying, if there's any facts to it and stuff like that. So that's what I do. I don't follow any particular party. Like some people, they'll vote a certain way. I'm not like that. I'm like free as a bird. Yeah, both sides, radical left and radical right, are as bad as each other. That's one thing I think we can all agree on, that are all having to listen to their bullshit. That's the one thing that actually annoys me about the whole lot, is the rest of us all have to suffer, because we have these people thinking that they're talking on their behalf and stuff like that. And that's not true. It's just not true. We all get caught up in it. And I'm actually sick of, as I said the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and swear, and I'll say it again, I'm sick of fucking Biden supporters and I'm sick of Trump supporters. I'm actually sick of them all. He's about as bad as each other now. You both need to shut the fuck up, because the rest of us just are bored and pissed off with it all. Right? You both, on both sides, make valid points. Right? But at the end of the day, 4 years down the line, we're still having the same fucking arguments. And the rest of us are all caught up in it. And we have to fucking see it. And we can't. And here's the thing. We try and avoid it as much as we fucking can. But there's always someone, it doesn't matter who you follow, you got friends or whatever, they're entrenched in it. And then all you're seeing is all this crap from both sides. I'm just like sick of it, man. Bottom line is this: Biden is an absolutely crap president, right? And I don't care what people say. Trump, he made a few waves and stuff like that, and I liked him for that. I'm not going to lie, right? But as a president, right, he was unpresidential and he was an asshole. End of story. Both of them are dickheads, right? Both of them are as bad as each other, right? Obama was a crap president as well. He's haven't had a good president in fucking 3 presidents, maybe more. Right? But to say one is better than the other, they're just as bad as fucking each other. It's ridiculous. We're all sick and tired of it. I don't care if you support Donald Trump. Fair play to you. Go and support him. I don't care if you support fucking President Biden. Go and support him. But leave the rest of us out. These are bullshit. You don't speak for the rest of the world. You don't speak for the rest of us. Seriously, man. The way they're talking, do you think Trump was this greatest president ever? He wasn't. Right? No, he wasn't. And neither is Biden. Biden is just as fucking bad. I'd say Biden is worse, though. I'm not going to lie. But they were both shy. And I'm sorry if there's a few MAGA supporters in here. I don't mean to upset you or burst you or bubble, but he was shy. right? All he was a disruptive influence, and for a couple of years it was fun, right? But it didn't become fun when the pandemic hit and then people start dying, all right? The fun was over then, right? And then Biden's just as fucking bad with all this. So he's blaming Trump on fucking everything, but yeah, his own fucking policies have fucking crippled the country as well, right? So he's just as fucking bad. Jeez, if people were honest, if Americans were honest with themselves, and I mean truly honest with themselves, go back and think the last time when he's actually had a decent fucking president. Right? Because Biden isn't it, Trump wasn't it, right? Obama wasn't it. So how far do you go back? No, he's not very presidential. People need to wake up. It's not very presidential. It's not. And at first, as I said, it was all fun for everybody. Everybody had a laugh because he was calling out the media and all. And he was right to do so. And I do agree he was right to call them out because they have been lying for decades. The media have never told the fucking truth in their life. Right? They always have an agenda. They've always had an agenda and always will have an agenda. So, yes, it was great that someone decided to go against that and call them out. And at first, it was fun. Like, leave it out, man. Some people are saying Kennedy. Some people, Reagan was better than Trump. Yeah, I think what kind of taints Reagan, though, is the fact that he had a relationship with the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher. In Irish eyes, anyway. We didn't like the fact that those two were very pally. Look, there's no denying he did some good, but you've got to weigh it up. You've got to weigh it all up. Did he do more good than harm? It's not. Anyway, here's the thing, though. Americans will always say it's funny. They like to stick their nose in our politics and stuff around the world. But as soon as an Irish person or anybody else starts talking about their politics, they get their nose out of joint. So I'll just say this. Look, it's not my place to tell Americans how they should do things. But I really think it's about time that as a people, you actually look at your political system and how people are voted in. Because I could tell you now, it's kind of ironic that they'll send international inspectors to different countries where they believe that their election has been corrupt. Yeah, we're probably watching corruption right in front of our eyes the last 8 years in that country when it's come to politics. Their system, they'll hate me saying this, but their system is old-fashioned for today. The American system, voting system, it all needs to be completely changed. But who am I as an Irish person to tell an American? But it's the only way moving forward. It's the only way moving forward. If you want proper democracy and true democracy, I think it's the only way to go about it. But I think people are starting to cop on and think and saying that things do need to change. It'll be a slow process in America, though, because, you know, I will give the country one thing. They're very patriotic and they do love their country. And, you know, the systems that they have in place, a lot of people cherish those systems. They might be flawed, but they do cherish them, right? It's the same with the UK. You know, you've got government and you've got the royal family and stuff. People in that country will argue that that system is flawed. For others, It's part of the fabric of the country. And that's the thing that we have here. The voting system, the way they do things in America, is part of the fabric of how they do things. So to change that, and see, I can understand, you see, is going to be difficult. Yeah, well, Johnson. Yeah, we won't get into that. He screwed that up as well. Look, all the politicians, look, there's not one politician that came out of this pandemic well. A lot of decisions were made around the world by different politicians that caused an awful lot of destruction and lives being lost, right? And here's another thing. Now that we're bringing this up, actually, I just want to, before I do go, so before I'm a Celebrity who came on, I said I was going to boycott and all of this. And then I told you that I changed my mind, that I was going to give it a go because I wanted to see this sniveling, wheezing little toad get what was coming to him. Now, a lot of the British public were the same and wanted that, but it hasn't panned out that way. So far, he's done well with everything that he's done. Even so much so that some of the campmates have become very friendly with him. But I'm gonna say this, right? As I said to Cheryl when we were all watching it, I says, look, I see that they're all making sly remarks, so they need to actually get this all out of their system now and approach him and blah blah, and that's what ended up happening, right? But there was a point where Chris Moyles, he goes to the camera and he goes, I felt like saying to him, well, forgive you for what? And then I was like, well, why didn't you actually say that? Because if I was in the camp, I'd say, hang on, Matt, what do you want forgiveness for? What, forgiveness for putting sick patients into care homes? Forgiveness for the affair? What? Forgiveness for breaking your own lockdown rules? What do you want forgiveness for? But nobody questioned that. But now it's annoyed the public because all of a sudden now they're accusing ITV of doing this all for publicity and they're doing it for the ratings. But here's the ironic thing, you're all tuning in and watching it. So why are you complaining? If you are watching it and complaining on social media that you find it disgusting, well, then you're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. It's like you're all tuning in to watch to see it hasn't panned out the way it is because he's done well with the tasks. You're all thought that, he was going to be made a show of. Okay. So far with the tasks, he's just put his head down and he's done them to basically stick two fingers up to you all and say, well, if you thought you were going to get the better of me at these tasks, you have another thing coming. And now because of that, you don't like it. And now you are criticising ITV for the decision in the first place. But you're hypocrites because you've watched. And now you are giving up because it hasn't gone the way that you wanted. In fairness, I will say this, you should never have went into the jungle, right? I don't think that a serving politician should be in the jungle anyway, right? Forget about all the other shit that comes with Hancock. That was the main reason for me anyway. Right? He's a serving politician. He should be sat at home in his office or sit in his office sorting out his constituents. That's his job. It's not to be eating fish eyeballs and cow anus or goat's anus or whatever and vagina and penis that right? That's not his job. But because it didn't go as people planned, because they were hoping that he'd be screaming, he would do all of this. Now they're giving out and taking out on ITV. So what you have to do now is the force public vote You get him out because it's uncomfortable anyway, right? Before he went into that camp to me looked like it was going to be the best camps in years, right? Everybody was getting on. I know people have issue with the comedian that's in there, and some people have issue with Boy George as well, okay? But they're in the jungle anyway. I don't know what happened in their particular cases, but obviously they wouldn't be in the jungle unless it was sorted out. I don't know the whole story. All I know is that Boy George has been accused of, I think, kidnapping someone in his home, and the other fella had an affair with his dancer on Strictly or something like that, and then it turned out he was supposed to be abusive or something like that, or allegedly abusive. I don't know because I don't know the backstories, right? But again, you know, you have a duty. You're the public now. If you don't like Matt Hancock in the jungle, get him out, right? And I hope you get him out because, to be honest, as I said before he went in, that looked like that was going to be one of the best camps in that show for years. Everybody was getting on. There was a bit of banter, and now it just looks and feels awkward. It just looks and feels awkward. Yeah, well, look, as I said, he should never have been allowed in. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't blame ITV. I'm not going to blame ITV. Why should I blame ITV for trying to boost the ratings of their show? People mightn't agree with it, but that's the whole point. To get people into the jungle, you know, that's either loved, hated, or despised. We've seen it before in the past. It just hasn't panned out for people the way they thought. They thought if they voted him in the trials, they'd break him and he'd leave. But he's not going to leave, folks. He was never going to leave. Because Matt Hancock, yes, he says he's gone in there for forgiveness. And I'd say there is a little bit in that. But be under no illusion. This man has the ego the size of UK, right? And he's only in there because of his ego, because he needs a bit of a massage, because he was battered for the last couple of years of his handling of this, and he's got an inquiry coming up as well. So this is all character reference for him. He thinks I'm stupid. He thinks the audience is, well, the real clever audience will pick up on why he's really there, right? He's only there for himself. People are saying he's there for the money, yet the money doesn't help. But trust me, this is a whole thing to show people that Matt Hancock apparently is a human being and is a decent bloke. That's why he's doing it, and he wants to massage his ego, right? Because, as I said, over the last couple of years, he's been battered about the handling of the way he handled things. And you know, he gave us that cry, which did actually look genuine. I'm not going to lie. It did. I say he does have those other reasons as well, but be under no illusion, the biggest reason he's there is for his ego. And he is desperate, and you can tell, and I will say this, he is desperate for people to like him. But what he doesn't understand is that there's a lot of people out there that have lost loved ones that look at him and see a person that was responsible for their parent, grandparent, child dying of the coup. Course itself, because he's under the here's the thing. Finish up brief, because I said I was going, but we will finish up on this, right? This is the thing. He's under some mad illusion, an ego trip, that he thinks if it goes well for him in the jungle, somehow he's going to be able to resurrect his career, right? And also, right, to have a plan B, that if he doesn't get re-elected, right, which he's not going to get back into his constituency, he's going to be thrown out anyway the next general election. Hancock is finished in politics, right? So he needs a plan B. So now he's got this easy route now, because he's done a couple of celebrity shows, because this is not the only one that he's done. He done the SAS one as well. So he was on that show as well. And I think, so he's making plans. So if it doesn't work out as a politician, he knows he has something else to fall back on. And listen, he might be the most unpopular person, but that won't stop TV shows, panels, bringing him on so they can rip the piss out of him because it'd be great entertainment. And he won't care because you could tell that even when the campmates were taking the piss out of him and stuff like that, this is a guy that just doesn't care. He will take anything you throw at him. He will take anything you throw at him because he just thinking of himself. He lives in his own little bubble. Well, in fairness, I'm going to say this though, PD. You're saying he's trying to get the sympathy vote. Well, he's gotten the sympathy vote for some of his campmates already. I mean, there's some that are suspicious of him, especially Chris Miles, which I was disappointed in him because he's a mouth anyway. And I thought if anybody is going to actually say something to Hancock and have a good go at him, it would be him. But he didn't. He went into the Telegraph booth and says, well, I was going to say, what do you want forgiveness? But you never said it to him. No point going in telling everybody on camera at home that you were going to say this to him. You didn't. So now you cannot go around making snacky comments about him now because you haven't got the balls to say it to his face. So he's thinking ahead. He's thinking ahead. Plan B. If I lose me job as a politician, it's grand. I'll become a celebrity instead. And whether he is like it or not, TV shows, panel shows, they'll bring him on to rip the piss out of him, and he'll just sit back and take it because he's getting a healthy wad of cash. He won't care. But some of the campmates have said they're willing to put whatever happened behind him now and give him the benefit of the doubt in the camp. And as I said, there are some that are suspicious. But the ones that are giving him the benefit of the doubt should be the ones that should be voted out as well first. You don't give a man that's responsible for what he did that caused so many deaths the benefit of the doubt. That man never gets the benefit of the doubt. Right? Unless he actually pours his heart and soul out on that show and tells us exactly what happened and what decisions were made and who made those decisions, then I will listen to Matt Hancock, what he has to say. Right? Because I do suspect that there is a lot of decisions that were made that he was given by certain experts, right? But still, he still played his own part in it. So if he wants true forgiveness and stuff like that, well then what Mr. Hancock needs to do is he needs to pour his heart out and tell the truth and give those people that lost loved ones some peace of mind, to let them know that at least he fucking tried to go against all of this stuff that was eventually announced. Because I suspect that a lot of stuff and decisions were made where he as the minister just had to go with. But he's a lot to answer for. He's a lot to answer for. You know, he could have went into camp, yes, everybody pissed off with him, and just go in and just leak it all. Call Boris and all out, man. I tell you, if he had to come out and say, right, this is what I was responsible for. These were the decisions that were made that I had no control over, but I had to go with the experts. This is what Bojo done, all of this. These are decisions he made. Dominic Cummings, all of that, right? You want people to get on your side, leak it all. Leak it all. Tell everybody everything that fucking happened and tell your part in it too. You want true forgiveness, that's where it starts. Bleed your guts out and then people will make up their minds about you. Fuck the Official Secrets Act. I know, that's stupid though. That's stupid though. Not in this. Not in this, man. Not in this case, right? You can't hide behind that. No politician should be allowed to hide behind that, right? People died, right? People died unnecessarily. We want answers. We want answers and we demand answers. And the people that played their part in it need to be held to account or need to actually admit their part in it and tell us what went on behind the scenes. Because what I could tell, what went on behind the scenes was a complete shit show. Even in our country, we handled the pandemic better than the UK. We were a few weeks ahead of yous, which means we were ahead of the other countries that yous were when yous were getting to the official numbers of how many COVID cases were, but they weren't actually the actual COVID. There was more. We were already ahead. We were 2 weeks ahead of yous. We acted 2 weeks before yous did. So we kind of did save a lot more lives, but we still made stupid fucking decisions over here too. Well, yeah, you've got to be. I think people would actually give him credit for being honest and forthright and telling the truth and exposing all of this and even his part in it, and let the public decide whether Matt Hancock deserves forgiveness or not. Anyway, let's hope lessons were learned, because, you know, every few years or so, there's always a new virus. Remember that. Or a new disease. So let's hope we've learned lessons, because none of us want to ever go through that again. And now these very same people that were making the laws and all this stuff want us to forgive them. They want us to forgive them. You know, for some people, they will forgive because they need to move on with their lives. But for a lot out there, the road to forgiveness will probably never end. This is a point in our history that we'll all remember. You know, we didn't have 2 world wars, but this was certainly our great test. And as our politicians, I should say, failed us, the people that were supposed to look after us, keep us protected, failed us. But we've seen during this pandemic the human spirit, people coming together, communities. It still showed me, though, that there's still kindness out there. Yes, it showed the other it showed the other side of our society. Heartless. Absolutely disgusting. But on the other hand, we saw beautiful moments, beautiful acts of kindness, the human spirit, human nature. We kicked in to gear. We all played our part in trying to keep everybody going through the tough times. Let's hope we've learned. But I doubt it, because, you know, the wrong people are it. You know what? I just wish there were more politicians with backbones. But you see, politicians with backbones and personality and actually would do well to lead a country are always backbenchers and stuff like that. They never get the chance to shine. Northern strike. Look, throughout especially in Ireland, throughout the decades, we've had Northern strikes. It's not ideal for nurses to go on strike, but I will say this in Ireland, in this country, nurses are very underappreciated here. We lose a lot of our nurses because they travel abroad. Look, I know during the pandemic, people were angry at nurses and doctors for doing their TikTok videos and all of this. And, and then the conspiracy theories grew that all of this was a hoax and stuff like that, which it wasn't, right? I know people that have lost people that died of this. So don't tell me it's a conspiracy. It's not. But was it a good look for people that were saving lives to do what they did? Now, some will argue they did it because, it helped them get through stuff like that. But I do think that was a bad look. But I'm never going to criticize nurses and doctors because, when I've ever needed a nurse or a doctor or someone to operate on me, they did their job and I'm here. So you've got to understand. I think when you talk about nurses and doctors going on strike or protesting, you've got to look at the reasons why they are. And if you think that they're legitimate reasons, and especially, look, as I said, I can't comment on the UK, but in Ireland, doctors and nurses have always been underpaid in this country. That's why they go to foreign countries to actually study and, they do the studying here and then they leave because they're just not being paid enough. So we'll see what happens. I mean, look, there's a lot of, especially with the economy in each country the way it is, we're at a fragile moment now. We're feeling the effects now of the pandemic, and also it doesn't help with other countries fighting with each other now. That doesn't help the economy either. And what doesn't help then is you have politicians that make the wrong decisions that actually make it worse. I think we're on the verge. People are saying recession. I'm going to go one step further and say depression. I think we're heading towards what happened in the 1920s. Feels like a reset. But I mean, that was the plan all along. But yeah, they're talking about recession. It's not going to be a recession. We're gone past the fact some countries are already in deep recession. This is going to turn into a depression. So, yeah, it's not all doom and gloom though. Look, we get through these things. That's what's good about us. We're very resilient. We can get through that if we put our minds to it. And we just have to make sure that we look out for each other and stuff. And I mean, I can't wait for the spoiled youth. I mean, they're going to be in for a shock when they're not able to do the things that they want. You know, and if we hit a depression, all of these people that are on these social media outlets, you know, including myself, we're all going to suffer because nobody will have money. All these people that are making bank on OnlyFans and all, there won't be people going watching news if there's a depression. They'll need the money for electric, so they're gonna be worse off. Those people that make their money, and I mean proper bank, they're the ones that are gonna suffer the most. On social media, I mean the rest of us will suffer, but I mean them, because they've nothing else to fall back on, because they've created their whole empire on social media. They're gonna be hit hard. They're gonna be screwed. Then they're going to have to try go out and look for a proper job. But the problem is, during a depression, there's hardly any work. There's about 50 people looking for the same bloody job. And only one person gets picked. Then before you know it, then we're all being picked up like back in the old days. You know, going to places where you know that there's work, hoping that you get picked to work. The old days. I mean, I don't think these kids even realise they don't even have a plan B. Because they're not even saving their money. This is what I did when we headed into that double recession. I was stupid. I never saved me money. Every single penny I made, I spent. I worked hard and I lived hard. Right? And I spent me money. My dad kept telling me, you better put a couple of quid away for a rainy day. I laughed at him. And the thing about it is they think that they have all this money in the bank, yeah? When the value of your currency is wiped out, that money is worth shit. You might as well wipe your arse with it. As I said, no plan B. YouTubers as well want to have a plan B. Any network, any platform where you're on, where you make money, where you're being monetized and you're making cash, you're going to be in awful situation. Because your money will run out. And as I said, it won't be worth the value that it was. So it's going to be more expensive to buy goods. So your money is going to run out pretty quick. You're not going to be able to go on camera and do the things that you do on camera to make a few quid, because nobody will have money to give you. All of these men that you sucker out with their week's wages won't have a week's wages to give you. This is why I worry about this social media age. I've been saying it for years. If all of this collapsed, that's a generation of youth that are absolutely screwed. So yeah, my advice to you is, if you're a young content creator, you know, or you're on these apps where you're exploiting men to make money off them, which I'm not going to argue, you know, I mean, if that's what you want to do, fine. But make sure you're putting some of that money aside, because, you know, now don't put it in the bank either. When I mean put it aside, put it somewhere in your home, safe. Never put money in the bank. All of these YouTube stars that are multi-millionaires and all of that, their money be wiped out overnight. They've got them all in banks. Banks will collapse. Bang, no money gone around. The money is worthless. We'll see, though. There's still a chance for us to save this from going into a depression. The politicians now need to actually do what they're paid to do now, because this is where we expect their politicians to be top of their game. These are the moments where a politician's supposed to shine. Unfortunately, a lot of them are too busy pandering because they're idiots. The supporters will go bust first, yeah. And then the content creators, because they're not making money anymore. You know? Like the bigger YouTubers will still make money because obviously there's ads on their videos and stuff like that, but they wouldn't be making as much as they do because, you know, they wouldn't be getting all those super chats because people can't afford super chats. No, well, let's see what the politicians come up with now over the next few months, even in this country. It'll be interesting to see if they can get their heads screwed on and actually get us out of this situation. But if the past is anything to go by, I all I'll say is it's going to take a bit of luck as well. We'll see. But as I said, listen, might be all doom and gloom and shit, but we've got each other, and that's what keeps us all going. So, you know, at the end of the day, we'll find a way around it. We'll survive as we always do. Now I'm gonna go off and have something to eat because I'm bloody starving now. Starving Marvin. Remember that episode of South Park? That was great. Um, Sadly, Gary's channel is stagnating a little. He's just not getting the guests in anymore. Oh, which Gary? Gary from Nerdotics, is it? I mean, look, you're gonna hit your peak at some stage. You know, I mean, a lot of YouTube channels do. They reach their peak. They reach a certain target, and then that's it. Then they kind of that's it. But there could be a lot of other factors involved in that as well. As you know, YouTube do everything in their power as well to make sure that some content creators are shadow banned or their videos are not being caught up by the algorithm as they normally would. Yeah, well, I mean that's I mean Friday Night Tights has kind of always had the same guests on. I mean, I do remember a time where there was different guests on each week, but the Friday Night Tights panel has become its thing on its own now. And even with the meetups, it's a Friday Night Tights meetup. So yeah, I mean, look, you know, there always is a danger if you have the same panelists on each week. I've even seen it with my own channel that sometimes people will say, "Hey, no, when are you bringing on other guests?" You know, but you stay loyal to your panelists, so that's the thing. Um, Sometimes you do need to change it up a little bit, but you know, as I said, that panel's become a thing on its own now. So yeah, that's why the same people are on each week. It's become a panel. It's like one of those you know, entertainment programs that you'd watch every Friday. You know, and then they bring on. That's what it's become now. Well, I mean, look, it's not my. I'm a fan of Gary. You know that. I'm. He's done a lot for this channel, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to criticize how he does things. The way he has done things so far has made him highly successful. So he must have been doing something right. You know. He must be doing something right. Remember, I used to do Friday nights as well, and we'd have on the same people. And people actually loved that back in the early days. That's why I plan on bringing the Friday night. I'm still waiting to see if Lee is going to do it with me, but that's why I want to launch a new Friday night show. Now, my plan is to have Lee as co-host and to bring on different guests each week to see how that goes. But sometimes people do like permanent panelists, so. You know, as I said, I'm not going to, because Gary has helped me out a lot. You know, it's not my place to tell him how he should run his channel. As I said, it's made him the success that he is right now. So he's obviously done something right. And as I said, even the bigger stars on YouTube, they do stagnate. They always do. You never just keep gaining subscribers. It's going to stop at some point. You're going to reach a peak. He did actually text me a few weeks back because we were having a conversation, and he said he was going to be having a Doctor Who stream soon. So, you know, and you know, we always have a bit of fun when we're on that stream. And as I said, he's always been very nice to me. And even when I got Noel Clark on the channel, he sent me a private message to congratulate me. So, I mean, look, as I said, he's kind of put me in a hard place here when you bring his name up, and some people, you know, at the end of the day, if what he's done has made his channel the success that it is, and maybe people out there do think he needs to freshen it up a little bit, and maybe that is the case, but that's not for me to say. It's not for me to say. And as I haven't tuned in to watch Friday Night Tights in a while now, I watch his other streams. As I said, I'm in no position to question. So, yeah, I mean, look, yeah, it's you're absolutely right to have concern. You know, you obviously, like a lot of us, we all depend on Gary and his channel to get the news out there and to be a voice for fans, because he's one of the biggest voices. And you don't, yeah, and of course people are protective and don't want to see anything that will harm the channel in any way. And I get that. But just keep supporting him. That's all you can do. Just keep supporting him. But I don't watch Friday Night Tights anymore. I used to back in the old days. For me, it's just become. I just like, it's funny. I'm not gonna lie, but I like to when they just the way Gary used to do it. But that's okay. As I said, the way it turned out, the way he decided to go about it, made him highly successful, and he deserves it. If anybody deserves it, it's Gary anyway. So he's worked very hard to get where he is. So he deserves it. On the other hand, there are other YouTubers out there that built their channel up on lies and stuff like that. I mean, I think it's channels like that we should be calling out. Actually, the director of Indiana Jones actually called them out. He's not who I'm talking about. I don't even know how people listen to that clown anymore. I mean, he's lied. And then people are saying, well, well, it doesn't matter to me if he lied. Well, it should. Because he gave a lot of Star Wars fans a lot of bleeding hope and then turned out to be a liar. So, I mean, if that's okay with you, then that's fine, fair enough, man. But I don't. It's not me, man. You don't build your channel up on lies and tell fans that this is gonna and get into their heads emotionally, and then it turns out that everything that you said is bullshit. Then he tried it with the Doctor Who fandom, and I was like, I'm not having this shit. Get the hell, get the boat, man. Right? Saying Taiwan had something to do with Doctor Who not being shown in China. What a load of bullshit. And he's still going around with the bullshit, and people lap it up. But look, they're the bigger ticks because they're the ones that give him the money and stuff like that. But it sends out all these care packages. They're always late. It's funny how they're always late and all. Charges for his autograph. That should tell you everything you need to know about him. Right? Goes and does a video with a fellow YouTuber and wears a plastic bag over his head. Wears a plastic bag over his head because he doesn't want people to see his identity because the mask that he brought with him wouldn't fit properly. Lies to the fandom, makes his name, makes his money off that, and then people then have the gall then to call out people like me who call him, oh, leave him alone. He's not doing any harm. He lied. He lied. That's the harm he done. He lied to Star Wars fans for years. And it's like as if you have all just forgave him. Right? Then I love it when he starts talking shit about Doctor Who, because as you already know, me and Gary and others are always in the know, and we already know what's bullshit. Taiwan. Simple research will show you that the reason why it wasn't shown in China is the fact that it has a time travel element. And if you look at the film industry in China, they have certain rules, and the rules are if you're doing time traveling, right, it must stay accurate to the historical facts the way China sees it. If it doesn't get shown. Nothing to do with fucking Taiwan. Then he tried to make it about skin color. He's a lying twat. Hold on now. I need to move real quickly. So you're probably going to hear a bit of ruffling because if I don't plug this computer in, we are gone. There we go. In you go. Plug it in. Are you plugged in? Yep. So, I just don't know how people can just let someone get away with that for as many years as they did. Tell all those lies and people still watch and tune into that person, and then give their hard-earned cash to a fraud. Then charges people for his autograph because he has it in his head that these people that follow him are his fans. Delusional. They all have egos, don't they? They all have egos. Me fans. You don't have fans. They're subscribers that you exploit to take that money from them. If half of these people weren't giving you the super chats that you did, you wouldn't be even on YouTube as much as you are. Right? You're only on it because bang, 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 bang. Cash, 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 cash. It's funny. I hate liars. And even today, some of the stuff that I spoke about months ago on my channel is actually being reported this week and all of this. Never lied. Was given information and put it out there. And I always made sure to tell people that it wasn't fact. Some of these YouTubers out there, right, are going around saying it's fact. It's fact. Test screenings for Indiana Jones 5 were so disastrous. Fact. Then the director comes out and says, no, that's not the case. And then the director actually makes a valid point. Well, are you going to believe the director of the movie, or are you going to believe a fella in a mask?
And this is what's happened, right? And I'm on YouTube, and I'll say it, YouTubers have gotten way too out of control, thinking that, they're the voices of fans and all of this stuff, right? And then they come out with rubbish like this, right? Now, this fella has concentrated on Indiana Jones, Kathleen Kennedy and stuff like that. So the fella in question clearly has an agenda, because if you look over his videos the last few years where he got absolutely nothing right that he ever spoke about, and even when he was called out on it, then he would get a friend in the media, or he'd come up with an elaborate video to show you screenshots and photographs of it. Well, so this is why I said this, because if you look at this scene here, the screenshot, which wasn't mentioned in the movie, but I'm just going to show you anyway to validate my point, because, I was right. Anybody that puts the hashtag I was right with their name and I was right is seriously, man. I don't know how people have bought that shit. Seriously, I wish I had been on YouTube a few more years previous to what I was, because I would have called these gobshites out straight away, man. I would have called them out straight away. Getting it all off 4chan as well, by the way. Even people have shown that some of the stuff he spoke about came from 4chan, but his supporters are loyal and they'll defend them. And anybody that goes and attacks him then gets it. Trust me. I actually responded to one of his ridiculous comments about, and I actually went in, I stopped following him, but he's still following me, which is weird. And I went in and said, you're talking out your backside, and you should have seen the grief I got off his supporters. You can't say anything bad. And you notice, in the early days, he'd never bring people on. Now all of a sudden he's bringing people on because he saw how it worked for certain channels out there, bringing people on and having panels, and thinks he can replicate that. The difference is he doesn't have a personality. That's why he talks to a puppet. Right? He doesn't have a personality. He doesn't have the personality of other YouTubers out there. He lied to this fandom, and then he goes and gaslights them. And then people accept that. Whereas if someone like me did it, I'd be called out, I'd be cancelled, and all of this. And I'm not asking him to be cancelled, but he should be held. Someone should call him out for his bullshit and say, you've been lying to this fandom. Just admit it. And they talk about how grateful they are that people give them their hard-earned cash. No, you're not grateful at all. Your plan's working. You're never grateful. You're never grateful. Yeah, well, one of these days it'll come to blows with him. Because I'm not going to be having him talking bullshit about Doctor Who. Stay in your lane anyway. Your lane is Kathleen Kennedy and your obsession with Disney Star Wars, yeah? You stay in your lane. You leave me, Gary, and other people that are reliable in this fandom to talk about Doctor Who, and you keep your poison and your bullshit rumors out of this fandom. Yeah? Because nobody is buying your crap anymore. Certainly not in the Doctor Who fandom, and we won't be tolerating your shit, right? You might have duped the Star Wars fans for 7-8 years or whatever, how long you're on YouTube, but you're not going to do the same with Doctor Who fans. Not as long as I'm in the fandom to call you out, because I will call you out every single time. Every single time. Because I don't give a fuck who you are. Don't care how big you are. Right? I don't care how mental your supporters are, right? You talk bullshit in this Doctor Who fandom and start spreading vicious rumors and absolutely disgusting rumors. Stick with your puppet, right? Stupid fucking tick. I know. You're a right adventuring nerd as well there. I mean, how many videos, right? How many videos do you need to do on Brie Larson? How many videos do you have to do on Kathleen Kennedy? How many videos do you have to do on Disney Star Wars? Talking about the same topic over and over again, but just repackaging it every single time. That's all they do. That's all they do. They repackage the same shit, say the same shit each week, and people buy it. It's at least I try to be different fucking here. I don't do 7, 8 videos on a topic anyway. Obviously, with Jodie Whittaker, we did because she was the new doctor, and obviously she was doing interview after interview. So yes, we were talking about her quite a lot. And she was the doctor, so in fairness, we had every right to talk about her. But I mean, even after Brie Larson did our movie and the movie was done, there was still videos months later, still banging on, even years later, still banging on about how crap she was. Get over it. Yeah, this whole verification shit, I've been thinking about it. Have to be honest. Cheryl doesn't think it's a good idea. Cheryl says I should just stay the way I am. For me, it's not to have the blue because I have seen a lot of comments and I do actually agree with it. That this whole thing now has just opened that people will just get a blue check mark just to have the blue check mark, and I think Elon has probably miscalculated there with that one. But for me, if I was to get it, it wouldn't be for anything else but just to stop the ads, and obviously we can write in longer text form and longer video. That's what I'd want it for. So I could actually throw up then videos on Twitter and talk to people on Twitter. That's what I'd want it for. But people just want it now for the prestige of having it. I think that's a miscalculation there. But that's just a personal feeling on that one. But yeah, I'm just sick of all of these, You don't need to keep holding on to an agenda. Sometimes you got to move on for your own sanity. I mean, like you see comments from these people as well. I'm not watching this show. I'm gonna boycott this show, but then they do about 20 videos on it, even though they haven't watched it, speculating on what it might be about because they've seen a couple of screenshots. Whereas, as I said to you guys, I watched the whole of Doctor Who, so I was in a position to give me opinion on it. But this is what we're seeing a lot of now as well. People that are not watching but still giving an opinion. So if you're not watching, just shut up and talk about something else. I'm pretty sure there's some other stuff to be moaning about. We don't need to be negative all the time. That's the thing. I mean, the way all of these people are acting, you think Hollywood was complete bust. Don't get me wrong, Hollywood is bad. It is. It's absolutely ridiculous. But there's still good stuff being made. But you never see any of these channels focus on any of the good stuff. And never say, oh, this show is worth watching. Oh, this movie is worth watching. And even if the movie turns out to be better than what they'll say, they'll leave a few comments and they'll probably do one video on it. But whereas if that very same movie was bad, they would pull up loads of tweets and probably do about 20 videos on the same movie. because they have learned that negativity. And you look at, I could be negative all. People accuse me of being negative all the time. If I was negative all the time, we'd probably have thousands of subscribers right now. Absolutely thousands, right? But I didn't play that game. I wasn't negative for the sake of negative. I had genuine concerns about Doctor Who. But I didn't jump on topics for the sake of jumping on topics because I thought they would elevate the channel. I did stuff that really meant something to me. And this is another thing that's happening. I mean, even in our own Doctor Who fandom, we do have the odd person that will come in here. Well, RTD is going to be this, that, and the other, right? Fair enough. But, like, don't be coming in and ruining it for everybody else that thinks that it might actually be good. Like, why not wait and see if your prediction comes true? You don't have to keep trying to drag everybody down with you because you feel it's going to be crap. That's another thing that irritates me as well. It's like nobody wants us to enjoy art. And if I say, oh, I'm looking forward to the art, oh, how dare you looking forward to the RTD era? He's going to be woke, he's casting as this, that, and the other. Right, fair enough. But you don't have to come in every 5 minutes to tell me the same fucking thing that you told me 5 days ago. I get it. But let the rest of us enjoy what we're enjoying. It's like someone actually did a whole post about me on Facebook. We banned him on the channel because he started saying stuff that was bang out of order, and he didn't like the fact that he was banned. I didn't even ban him. Someone else banned him in the chat, right? But then he goes on into his Facebook group, his Doctor Who Facebook group, to tell everybody how I sold out. I sold out because I support RTD. I sold out because I support Shooty. I'm a hypocrite. Well, it just goes to show you that this person never actually really watched any of my videos, because what have I been saying for years who would like to play the Doctor? Richard Ayoade, right? Obviously, Shooty got the role. I would have been happy with Richard as well, right? But I didn't sell out. I stuck true to my beliefs, right? Skin colour doesn't factor in to me when someone's playing the Doctor. But if it does for you, then fine. If you have legitimate reasons why, that's fine, fair enough. But well, from what we could tell from your comments, you didn't have legitimate reasons. You just had a problem with it because he was black, and that was it. Because you were removed, you decided to go and tell everybody that I sold out and all of this. But it didn't work. It backfired on you. Because I didn't sell out. Because it goes to show you're just as bad as the J-bots. You didn't watch me videos or my streams over the years. I've never had a problem with skin colour of the Doctor. It's never even factored into me thinking. My only stipulation and my only desire for the Doctor is that the Doctor was male. Skin colour was irrelevant. And it should be irrelevant. But to accuse me of selling out because I support RTD, well then, so what are you telling me? You didn't like the RTD, you didn't like RTD's Force era. So a lot of these people's true colours are actually coming out, so they never supported RTD in the first place then. Because if they're disgusted with him taking over now, but then obviously they didn't like his era. And I have seen a lot of comments though as well from people that have said, well, I've went back and watched the RTD era and I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it as much as I liked it back in the day, because now I realise how woke it was. Like, shut up. Shut up. Like, sit down. I'm giving RTD a chance because he proved himself the first time round. And for personal reasons as well, as I said, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for RTD bringing back Doctor Who. So I will give him a chance based on his previous work on the show. And whatever casting decision he has made so far, I will stand by him 100% on it until I give him reasons not to. Right? If it turns out to be crap, I will call it out. I have always said that. Right? But for now, right now, I'm enjoying and excited like a lot of fans are right now at the moment. Right? And nobody is going to take that excitement away from us. Simple as that. And everything that RTD has done so far, everything that Shooty's done, RTD had a rocky start. Nobody will deny that. Right? But since then, he's got his head down. He said and done all the right things. Shooty hasn't put a foot wrong. David Tennant has also said and done all the right things. You've seen all the excitement in the fandom. Why would people want to ruin that? If you have the opinions that you have, that's fine. You don't need to keep repeating them and trying to drag everybody down and get everybody to be on you. I mean, people like that are just as bad as the left. If you don't agree with them and have the same opinions than them, then you're a sellout. Now, I've been enjoying season 4 of Doctor Who. I even threw up a couple of clips on Twitter, and I'll watch a couple of episodes today after I watch what I need to watch today. But I'll watch a few more episodes tonight, and I will have a laugh, and I will enjoy it. And I had a smile on my face watching. I just can't believe how good the RTD era was. It's brilliant. As I said, if you have opinions that you don't think this is going to be any good or any of this, and you think the casting is done for certain reasons, you're entitled to those opinions. I'm not saying you're not. The problem I have is you're coming in just like the other side tried to do and force your opinions on the rest of us. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, you know, the fandom has been reignited because of all the stuff that's happened. And I did believe that this was game over for Doctor Who after this era. I didn't. After Series 12, I thought there's no rescue for this. It's just going to wither away and die. But it's been given a second chance. And yes, Chris Chibnall has done the dirty on us. I didn't finish what he started, which means he's a complete coward anyway. But this is a fresh start. And RTD deserves a chance to rescue this show. Remember, he told us he was giving us 3 specials. Now he's come out to tell us that he's given us 4. Right? This man is dedicated. This man wants to do right by the show. So as a Doctor Who fan, I'm going to give him every chance to show me that Doctor Who can be a success again. And if it is, not only do we have our show back, folks, but the possibilities are endless now with all of these talks of spin-offs and the money that's available, right? We're entering a new phase of this show's history. And we could be part of that journey. And if RTD does deliver, as I said, it's going to be something spectacular. Doctor Who will be back on top. And I'll be happy. That's all I've ever wanted. That's all I've ever wanted. Just Doctor Who to be respected and to be the television show that I have always said that it could be. Remember what I told you? So I said BBC don't realise what they actually have. And I think that has been the problem with Doctor Who. They have realised that has been a success, but I don't think BBC, because they haven't had the budget either though, or the vision to actually push this show as far as it can actually go. Now it can. Now it can. And that's exciting. That's exciting. And I'm glad they've come out to make sure that it's not going to lose its Britishness and it's not going to lose what Doctor Who is, because that is the big factor for me. It's a British show. It's a British institution. It was a British icon. And it must stay British for it to work. Because I was fearing that they'll Americanise it. But that's being put to bed very, very quickly. And remember, this production team, any waves that have been made in the fandom due to reporters falsely reporting or misquoting people, right? RTD, BBC, press office, whoever it is, Radio Times have come out straight away and said, no, this is bull. This is actually what's happening, right? So they have dampened the flames straight away. They won't let Atten, like they did in the previous era, where the previous regime would let things fester and go on for months without saying that. And RTD and co are completely different. Anything that comes out that they see that's causing a disruption in the fandom or causing a bit of upset, they will put fans' minds at ease ASAP. And that's the way it should be. And that's the way it should be. So because they're doing all of those things, because they're actually showing that they care, you know, I'm giving RTD a chance. And I never thought I would actually say that I'd give this show another chance after the 5 years that we've just had. But for me personally, you know, and it's been hell in the fandom for me for 5 years, I'm not going to lie. But there comes a time and a point where you just have to leave that behind you to move on. And I'm going to move on. And then if it doesn't turn out the way I hope it does, well, then I'll see what else they do in the Doctor Who universe, if there's any spin-offs that are worth watching. But, you know, I will give it a go and see what happens. RTD deserves that because of what he's done first time round anyway. And he proven himself the first time round. And the extra added bonus is that David Tennant is back. And there was a time where I was kind of like, they brought David Tennant back again. You know, it's always David Tennant. But I'm actually looking forward to his return, because he seems genuinely excited and he seems to be buzzing. It's like as if he's got an extra lease of life or something. And David Tennant's been smashing it, by the way, in all of the other TV shows that he's recently done over the years. So he didn't need to come back to Doctor Who either, because he's pretty successful. He's got another show on the way out as well. David Tennant didn't need this. But David Tennant's love for Doctor Who is so great that if RTD rings him up and asks him to come back, he's going to come back. And I'm pretty sure it'd be the same with Matt Smith. If he was asked to come back, he'd come back because of his love of the show. Remember, Matt Smith became a fan, which was great to see, while he was playing the part. And that was amazing to see. That was actually amazing to see. And I loved that. Exactly. I'm excited. I really am. As I said, we're going to try get that Doctor Who magazine ASAP. anyway, and see what the story is. But yeah, but this is the last chance saloon as far as I'm concerned. Because as I said, I can't go through another few years of nonsense. So if it doesn't pan out the way we all hope that it pans out, well then it will be time to kind of move on. And we've got our memories, we've got our serious. And of course, they're still banging on about David Tennant not wearing Jodie Whittaker's costume. Anyway, when will they ever learn? Doctor Who is completely sold out. That's why you're not having trouble. Yeah, Doctor Who magazine. Yeah, well, that's in the UK. In Ireland, there's a delay apparently, and I should be able to get it here. But yeah, apparently where it has been available, it's sold out. But they are having distribution problems, so they wanna fix that now because there does seem to be genuine interest in the magazine again. And I say they're even probably surprised, but that's why they're probably having problems with distribution because they probably didn't think that this magazine was going to do so well. Because remember, the last 5 years it struggled. So this is the first issue of the RTD reign, and it's literally flew off the shelves where it is, where it's being available. But yeah, tomorrow's Monday, so we'll have a look tomorrow for. I'm still determined to get it anyway. But we'll see. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm gonna go now and watch something, have something to eat, as I said. I don't even know what I want. Do you ever get one of those days? Like, it's a Sunday, I'd normally do a roast or something like that, but I'm not actually in the humour. We had some ham yesterday and stuff, so yeah, it's just one of those days I don't know what I want. Yeah, they do. They're being called out by both sides of the fandom, so let them. Let them. I'm just not getting involved anymore because there's no point. I did me time. You know, I had to put up with the abuse for 5 years, and I'm not. People are trying to drag me back into it and get involved in all of this pettiness. I don't want to get involved, right? So I don't. I don't care what they say about the costume. They've been called out. RTD disagrees with them as well. So, you know, he spoke. So let him deal with it. That's what he's there for. He's the showrunner. He has a backbone, unlike the previous one. So he's not tolerating any nonsense. So, as I said to people out there, let them do what they're doing. Let them react the way they're reacting. As I said, it's unjustified because David and RTD have both worked on the show previously and were hugely successful. As I said, the difference with us when we were complaining about Chibs and Jodie is because they were obviously new to Doctor Who in terms of, you know, taking over and of course the interviews and stuff that they did, and they made it very clear that it wasn't going to be Doctor Who anymore, basically. So that's why that was legitimate criticism, whereas the criticism that they have now is not legitimate. And they're picking on things up like the costume. They keep saying that the costume's gender neutral. Listen, I don't care what Jodie Whittaker said about the costume. David Tennant would have looked absolutely fucking ridiculous in it. End the story, right? End the bloody story, right? It's not a gender neutral costume, and it doesn't matter what she said. No man in their right mind would wear that. And I know there are a few male cosplayers, but they're idiots, right? I'll call them out for what they are. They're idiots, right? I wouldn't wear that costume. I wouldn't, even if I was given and I'm being honest, if I was offered a suitcase full of money, £1,000,000, there's £1,000,000, put that, all you have to do is put that costume on for 5 minutes, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even take the £1,000,000. I'm being honest. I would not ever put that costume on me. It's not gender neutral. It never was gender neutral costume. Okay? So stop with your bull. Stop complaining about it. David is the doctor, whether you like it or not. Even the magazine told you. David is the doctor. Get over it. You have no legitimate argument this time around. That's the difference. Right? And you have become the people that you've labelled us, not my doctors. Now, I'm not going to label you as not my doctors because you're idiots anyway. Nobody should have been labelled a not my doctor in the first place. Right? Okay? But you don't have legitimate concerns. Because RTD, David Tennant have done it before. Right? Stop saying David overshadowed her, because the bottom line is that Jodie Whittaker was overshadowed in every season that she played by the supporting cast because she wasn't good enough. Right? And he's blaming David Tennant and overshadowing her. So he's disrespecting the classic doctors by saying that their presence wasn't enough to overshadow Jodie in The Power of the Doctor. Yes, they were. Right? But just goes to show you how the lack of disrespect that you have for the classic doctors that you've made it that was David that overshadowed Jodie Whittaker. No, she was overshadowed by Sacha Dhawan. She was overshadowed by the classic companions plus the classic doctors before we even got to David Tennant. That's the bottom line. So he's barking up the wrong tree. Stop crying, right? Because the rest of us are sickies now, right? And at the end of the day, you have realised now you don't have the influence and the power and the fandom that you once had. It's time to let go. It's time to move on, right? Go and support Jodie in whatever other project that she does now. And the best thing for you guys to do now is to leave the fandom. Go. He's wedding fans of Doctor Who. He's were fans of Jodie Whittaker and what she stood for. So go and follow her out of the fandom now. Go. Because I tell you now, the RTD fans are not going to tolerate your nonsense. The David Tennant fans are not going to tolerate your nonsense. And I'm pretty sure the Shooty fans, when they come into the fandom, are not going to tolerate using his skin colour as a weapon against other fans. You're going to be called out for that as well. And we're already prepared for that because I know that's exactly what you do. But I'm calling you out before you even do it. Don't even dare try and use his skin colour as a weapon for your absolute own racism. Right? Because people that focus on skin colour and gender and all of this, yous are the sexist, yous are the racists. So stop projecting because we're sick of yous. Yeah. Anyway, that's the rant done. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. And we have a couple of things planned as well. So I'm pretty sure we'll get some updates tomorrow as well. So yeah, we'll have a look out for them. But yeah, listen, as I said, if you're enjoying what's happening right now, don't let anybody out there try spoil it for you. And for all you crybabies out there, it's time to grow up now and either move on or actually support the show that you claim to be fans of. But we all know you're reading fans of the show. You're fans of Jodie Whittaker and what she stood for. And it was the same with the companions as well. It's because they happen to be a different skin colour. You supported them. You didn't support the actors and actresses themselves. You supported what they stood for. And that's disgusting. Disgusting. Anyway, we'll leave it there. So I want to thank everybody that's popped into the chat. PD, Shelley, Cardwitch, and all the others there. that we have Scottish Davros in the chat as well. We've got all that. Well, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. As I said, we will be back tomorrow. So enjoy the rest of your day, or in some parts of the world, it's still early morning for you. So enjoy your morning, breakfast and stuff like that. And for the rest of you, enjoy your afternoon and your evening. And we will be back tomorrow. So as I said, yeah, have a good one. And we will talk to you very, very soon, folks. See ya. It'd be great if I actually played the trailer now, wouldn't it? Oh, there we go. Goodbye. Goodbye.